she was young, when she was a toddler, she had 5 grand mal seizures, and they were not fever related. And she had 1 petit mal seizure, and at that time the doctors, the neurologists, said that we didn't have to put her on any kind of medication. We could choose not to, and then that she would probably outgrow them. And so we assumed everything was okay. She never had any more grand mal seizures. We were thinking about homeschooling, but we didn't know enough about homeschooling at the time. So we went ahead and put her into kindergarten. In kindergarten, the first 2 months at the one kindergarten, or the one school, we started getting nasty notes sent home saying that she was belligerent, she wasn't paying attention, and you were staring at other kids and not finishing schoolwork in kindergarten. I found out that the 30-year veteran teacher had built a cubicle around her so that she could not stare at other kids. We transferred her to another Toledo public school, and there she got beat up 5 different times. So I started homeschooling her in 1st grade, and probably halfway through the year, I said, Tom, there's something really wrong with Cassandra, and I'm not sure what it is. And I told him that when we were sitting there doing schoolwork, that her eyes were blinking and they were rolling back in her head. So we took her to the neurologist that she had gone to when she was a toddler, and he diagnosed her with absent seizures, the old petit mal seizures. And he said that they were atypical because they started in all different parts of her brain. They were, he couldn't pinpoint them, and that she had over 200 a day.
Yeah, he said a lot of kids went through that kind of thing, and it would pass, and so we didn't attribute much to it at that point in time. We worried about the speech delay, but these did pass, as he indicated, and it wasn't until later that the absent seizures showed up. And
it was really tough because they were mean to me, and it was tough being a kindergarten at that school. And I had no idea that I had epilepsy. My injuries were, I got choked, got scratched twice, knocked down from a 6th grader during gym class, recess.
So we just started paying attention to everything that was going on now that she was diagnosed, and we said, oh my goodness, that's obviously what had been happening in kindergarten, is that she was having seizures this whole time. Just before she turned 4 years old, I thought, well, I'll put her into a skating program, ice skating program. So I did that down in Bowling Green, and she seemed to be happy during that time. We really just kept watching her to make sure that she was okay, and then that's when we noticed that, well, wait a minute, and none of these things are happening when she's skating. And so then that's when we really started putting her into a lot of skating classes and using that as therapy. Lucas County, MRDD, and Sunshine Children's Home, through their family resource dollars, they really helped us to be able to help pay for her skating, because it was a therapy for her, because it was a time where she didn't have seizures. And the neurologist that she had here locally couldn't figure out why she couldn't ride a bike, but she could ice skate. He never did figure it out.
the irony of this, and the part that really concerned him, he didn't understand, was that she was standing on two thin blades on the ice and was not losing her balance at all.
Because of her seizures and everything like that, in Bowling Green, there were a lot of other little kids just kind of having fun during the classes, and so she was becoming distracted, very easily distracted. So we thought we'd go up to Detroit and try it up there.
We knew that Cassandra was a good skater, and epilepsy aside, it didn't really affect anything, and she was progressing very well. And so when we went up to Detroit skating, she went through their progressive Learn to Skate program all the way to the top of that program, and then was assigned Olympic coaches to take her from there. And so she really blossomed, and then she was part of their very famous Team Milan, which is their synchronized skating team, and that's when we, as parents, realized that something was wrong.
She had to try out for the Team Milan, and they were individualized tryouts, and she did great. So they put her on the preliminary team. They had to interlock their arms with each other and skate different ways in certain directions. And they would call out one thing, and the line would go this way, and she would go that way, and then they'd, run over her. So we realized then that she needed to have control of her own body, and that could only be done as an individual skater.
Penny figured out that in order for Cassandra to learn these turns and jumps and everything, that she was memorizing things, and that's why the Team Milan didn't work, because they were calling audibles. But Cassandra had actually memorized the different moves on the lower level, so Penny took her and converted them into geometry. So she would have her practice one leg of the trip over and over and over again until it was in her memory, then the next leg, and then the next. And so she was doing axles and sow cows and all that stuff because Mom went out and Mom hasn't skated in her life. I mean, she skates a little bit. But she went out and got her professional skating license so that she could go out on the ice and teach coaches how to teach somebody with epilepsy. And it was an amazing thing to watch. I mean, it was just amazing.
It was pretty neat to have your mom on the ice to teach you the jumps, even when you had your street shoes on. But it showed that my mom really cared about me. I stopped in the middle of 2008 when I was 13 years old. Mm-hmm. And the reason I stopped is because it got too dangerous. I stopped in juvenile. That's right before novice, and then it becomes Olympics. And that's when they'd be doing a double axles, double salchows, double everything.
Because of the different media that had been involved with Cassandra telling the amazing story about not having seizures on the ice, this doctor down in Texas, he was a neurologist, he contacted us and said, I know what's going on in her brain, and I think I can help her. He said that athletes, when they're in their zone, so to say, their mental zone, their brain waves are different. And so he said she must be having certain brain waves when she's skating, and which allows her to not have the seizures, and let's train her brain to be like that all the time. And so he would do that through neurofeedback.
Had her fit with electrodes for an EEG on the ice. He actually took her to the skating rink in Dallas, at the Galleria, and they dedicated the whole ice to her, and they tried to measure this place. And his theory was, again, if he could isolate it and say, this is what it takes, I will teach her in a lab setting how to maintain those brain waves all the time through using a screen to do it. He had devised a program that, in fact, they use it a lot for kids with ADHD. And it's a game. You can actually literally play Pac-Man on a screen in front of you from the wires from your head. So Cassandra was able to move the Pac-Man figure and have it chase after the different things that it did. And when she stopped thinking about it, the figure stopped.
And it first started working.
Yeah.
But then because her seizures start in all different areas, it would be like we were constantly chasing where it was starting.
Yeah.
And so it started not making a difference. So he suggested using foreign language and music therapy, learning to play a musical instrument, because those things were done on the right side of the brain, and he thought that those things also would grow new neurons.
I started playing my guitar back in 2007, and I loved guitar. We own 3 guitars. And it's 3 electric guitars, and it's really peaceful, and I love playing like church music, rock and roll music, any kind of music. I realize it's helping me when I'm like in one of my anger moods, and when I get like really stressed out, I go back into my room and start playing the guitar. I'm learning Spanish, and Spanish is going well, and I'm learning yoga, and it's peaceful. It's just
And
like
swimming?
guitar and swimming.
Yeah.
I have sat there and watched her play the guitar, and it's the same thing. She doesn't have the seizures. I think that the reason she notices the guitar, the music therapy, I think she notices that because that's really been a lifesaver in the aspect of dealing with her Asperger's. So on top of the epilepsy, she has Asperger's, and thank you again to Lucas County DD and Sunshine. They help pay for the music therapy. She used to have at least 200. Her neurologist now is down in Columbus. He just did a 24-hour video EEG. Now we're down to about 85 to 100 a day. So we're pretty excited. Also, I've played Dr. Mom.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Mom.
So I've put her on a lot of different supplements. I started thinking that, they said, the doctors said that they had hoped she would outgrow this when she hit puberty. They said, but they said they only gave her a 30% chance of outgrowing it compared to other kids. So I thought, if this is puberty related, then how do we know it's not hormonal related?
Initially, when our doctor and neurologist here in Toledo went through all this testing in the 24-hour EEGs, he literally came out of the room at the hospital and said, I don't know what you folks are going to do. This is the worst case I've ever seen. In all my years, I've only had one other case. I don't know how she's going to go through life without constant assistance. And we just didn't accept that. Penny never accepted that. We would not accept that. And so we moved on. Cassandra lifts herself up. She is a can-do person.
Tom is retired disabled from Chrysler. Chrysler dropped all of our insurance, so he has Medicare, I have nothing, and Cassandra had nothing. So we started fighting for kids who have a disability. She had been denied health care coverage, even excluding her epilepsy. They didn't want to touch her at all because she has them every day. Thank you, God, for the State of Ohio Bureau for Children with Medical Handicaps covers her epilepsy, only in the state of Ohio and only for epilepsy. We started the crusade of healthcare, allowing, we didn't need something handed to us, but we needed to be able to have access to it. And so we started finding the candidates that supported that concept, and we got very actively involved in that.
They wanted a level playing field. And so they would go and talk to these politicians on a state, local, state, and federal level to see who was supportive and who wasn't. If we saw that they weren't supportive, she would email them until they gave up and said, okay, I'll look into it. Or she'd go visit them. Or at one point they went to Washington, D.C. and testified before select members of the House and Senate. And that worked to a certain degree, but then it became an advocacy role where other people were saying, we need you to come and shore up our folks here because they're a little weak. And so they did that to the point for 10 years that Ted Kennedy, just before he died, wrote a story about Cassandra in Newsweek and told her story. And Cassandra was so excited to have that story that she was planning on going to visit him, and he passed away before she could get there. So his widow, Vicki Kennedy, sent for her, and we went over to Boston to meet with her. And
it was really thoughtful of her, and I had a great time talking to her. I wanted to make kids show that I can help and get their health care and have it passed, and have a health insurance for everybody that does not have it. I really enjoy campaigning. I enjoy meeting all the politicians, going backstage and meeting them, and having the autographs. And I'm still homeschooled. The teachers are nice.
can't call in sick.
I'm learning a lot than going to public school because I go on more field trips. I get involved. I volunteer places. I volunteer at Salter Village, the Mommy Library, and the Toledo Zoo. but I don't volunteer that teachers do anymore because I am like so busy with the schedule. I have my homeschool friends from my group, and my friends from Sauter Village, and the Mommy Library.
And camp.
And camp. At the Patrick Henry College for homeschoolers camp. It was for like politics and religious stuff. I'm treated normal, like my friends are really friendly to me.
Your friends, but not
Yeah.
the kids in the
Not
neighborhood.
the
Not
kids,
the
in
kids
the
in
kids in
the
the neighborhood. They make fun of me because of my disability. I just blow them away. I don't even like worry about them. I just worry about my homeschool friends.
Because she couldn't ride a bike, or because there was something different about her, and they went to public school and she didn't, so she must be a loser. Nobody took the time to find out what that meant. The situation is that there's a lot of folks that just don't understand.
Right.
And this is one of those things, that epilepsy, that has that mystical sound to it that frightens people because they don't take the time to get information about it, and they don't understand.
And then you throw Asperger's on top of
Sure.
it, and it's just done. I think that we've taken a lot of time and effort to insulate her with people who are caring and loving. I think that her education is higher than it would have been anywhere else. Is she going to live with us for a long time? Sure. Is she going to be able to drive? No.
In fact, when I was in Washington, D.C. with my Patrick Henry College, most of the captors say that she can have me work as a page when I'm 16. I would like to be like a journalist because I like journalism, and that's about it. I'm not looking at the bad side, I'm looking at the good side, and like looking at my future, my education.
She started playing her guitar outside a few weeks ago, and just to be outside with it with the amp, and they came as if it was the Pied Piper. All these kids that had been mocking her up to this point came and quietly sat there because they didn't know that she was that good of a guitar player. So there's a common language that it'll pass, and these kids will grow into adults, and they'll be fine with it. Cassandra is just, she's an achiever. She doesn't let things stop her like that. And thanks again to DD, Lucas County DD. You know, Hillary Clinton said it takes a village. It takes a county. It takes our county. I mean, this county has stepped up and had the same attitude. Not only do we have a can-do attitude, but we have resources. Let's see if they work for you. Let's check them out completely. And so she's trying to pay it back by volunteering. And that's how it works.